Former Trump attorney Michael Cohen says he is set to meet with Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg today in an ongoing investigation into former President Trump's alleged hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. Cohen's announcement came on the same day that a new book by Mark Pomerantz, a former Manhattan Special Assistant District Attorney who spent a year investigating the former president's personal and business finances, hit stores.
The new book, People versus Donald Trump, lays out the case prosecutors built against the former president and the author's strong disagreement with the Manhattan District Attorney's decision not to bring charges. And he joins us now. Welcome to you, and thanks for being here with us.
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, of course. So your book lays out the case that you believe should be brought against Donald Trump, and we all know that he has denied any wrongdoing. What was some of the most compelling evidence that you found?
Well, there were a lot of documents that made the financial statement case. Michael Cohen was helpful, but it's a combination of a huge amount of circumstances that's hard to articulate in a moment, which is part of the reason I wrote the book. I thought it was important for people to know what we had, what the process was, what the investigation was, and what the back and forth was, because it's something that people typically don't see.
And Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg says that he came to the same conclusion as other senior prosecutors, that more work was needed. He said, quote, "Your plane wasn't ready for takeoff." What is your response to that?
Well, the plane took off from a different airport, to strain the metaphor. The Attorney General of the state of New York brought a civil case based on the same allegations and the same facts, alleging that Donald Trump broke not only the civil law, but he broke criminal laws as well. It's a civil case, it's not a criminal prosecution, but all of the evidence and the reasoning and so on is contained in her complaint, and a judge who reviewed it and reviewed the facts said, look, it lays out a case of persistent fraud. People don't see very much the inner workings of how prosecutors decide whether or not to bring cases, and I hoped it would be an interesting story.
District Attorney Bragg has responded to your book saying your criticism of the DA's office is, quote, appalling. His office has concerns that your book could prejudice ongoing criminal investigations. What's your response?
Well, two things. I don't think I did criticize the personalities of the people. They're professionals, they work hard, they do a great job. I've been a prosecutor for many years in my life, both in this office and elsewhere, and I have the utmost respect for the people who do that work to keep the city safe. With regard to the decision, the evidence and the other things that are talked about in the book are going to do nothing to make a prosecution more difficult. That prosecution is going to turn on the facts and the law, and nothing in the book changes either the facts or the law. The facts have been out there.
And you also feel that anyone, you know, who would have been facing this type of evidence, aside from Trump, would have been prosecuted fully. Why is it that you think President Trump has not been prosecuted?
You know, I do feel strongly that you have to apply the same legal standards to everyone, whether they're president or pauper. And what happens, and it's human nature, when the stakes are so high, as they were in this case, when you're dealing with a potential defendant who is so powerful and so important, it's human nature to want to proceed only if you're sure that you're going to win the case and if the circumstances are compelling so that you're almost forced to proceed. That's not the standard we apply to everybody else. I'm not saying it was a deliberate, separate standard, but it's the way things work in practice. I have no doubt in my mind, based on many years of experience, that if these facts were brought to a prosecutor, any prosecutor, and the question was, are we going to go forward and charge this person, that person would have been charged.
Let's dive more into that, because one thing that jumped out to me on the very first page in your book, you called the failure to indict, you called it a grave failure of justice, but you also say this case certainly wasn't a slam dunk. So what would the ramifications have been in a case like this if it had not been won?
Well, I think there was a fear that if you go forward with a case and you don't win it, that will shake public confidence in the legal system. But one of the points I made in the book, and one of the points I made in the back and forth dialogue, was that public confidence can be shattered also when people are not charged who should be charged. Public confidence in the rule of law is shaken when somebody avoids accountability for crimes they have committed. And one of the things about the dialogue that we had in the DA's office is nobody ever articulated the view that Donald Trump was not guilty of the crimes that we were investigating. There were issues about the law, there were issues about, well, are we going to win the trial? How strong is the case? But the underlying question of guilt was not one that divided people.
All right, Mr. Pomerantz, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. People versus Donald Trump is available everywhere books are sold. Again, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.